Whoa. Whoa. It's the illusion reporting from somewhere on spaceship Earth for another episode of Sober Wednesday. We're at least keeping this one consistent. We are keeping this one consistent. So, we need a full mini donkey in there. Yeah. So, do an hour, man. An hour in the solution. This hour is dedicated to those who suffer. Usually, suffering is caused by lack of connection with the God of your understanding. And many people choose to suffer with drugs, alcohol, sex, food, misery, arguing, flipping out. Me personally, I'm an alcoholic drug addict. So I solved my problem with drugs and alcohol. So I speak to that. That's what I can speak to is the Brendo. Thank you. I speak to the solution I found as a member of Alcoholics Anonymous using the 12-step program to achieve a bountiful relationship with a God of my understanding. So, with that said, this is an hour dedicated to those who suffer. So if you're not here to be of service and help and you just want to observe, you're more than welcome. If you got questions to ask, please do. But we're trying to keep the chat free of the normal sort of stuff. This hour is dedicated to people that might be struggling out there. And there's plenty of people that are struggling out there. We all struggle at certain times. And so that's what we're doing for the next hour. So with that said, I usually like to open it with the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. 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 So, yeah, the serenity prayer, man. It's always funny what goes through my head when I do the serenity prayer. It's like and what I was thinking about was the connectivity, right? And I'm like, I have to surrender to it. It's part of the deal, and I'm working on a solution. I have the Ethernet cable thing figured out, but I can't find the charger for my other laptop. So bear with me, man. You have to know when to hold them and know when to fold them, right? And that's where God lies. And just on that, I have an interesting story on God and divine intervention and allowing things to unfold how they do, right? Before I read the how it works. So the other day I called up to get a bunch of soil delivered up here, right? So, I called and I talked to the gal to get a bunch of soil, and she was like, well, we can only deliver 3 cubic yards up where you are up in Kernville. And, there's a delivery fee. And I was like, all right, let me do some, I got to wrap my head around this, how much soil this is. Right. So I was like, I'll call you back in a little bit, dude. And she was like, so we can only deliver so much. Right. So I went and I did some calculating in my head, and I was like, I don't know if it's any easier to I don't know, dude. Right. And so, whatever, I just did my thing and I called back and I got a different gal on the phone. Right. And I was like, hey, I want to order up the soil and the mix 15 and get it delivered. And I was like, how much can was it only 3 yards? She's like, no, you can get it like a giant 2 trucks if you want. And the point I'm making is, because I was allowed time to happen, I got way more than I would have if I had just gone with my initial conversation and just ordered on the fly. I took a pause. I went, I did some calculating, did some math, made some other phone calls, found that other people wouldn't deliver up here. And I was like, all right. And I figured out what it would cost me to go do it and all these kind of things. And then I called back and it rolled my way because I got it. God intervened by me doing the legwork. So, minor story, but again, is it just goes to show is everything's not set in stone. There's I don't know how it works because the first gal was like, "That's it, that's the all we do," and the second gal was like, "Yeah, no problem, man. Like, we got you." And then the kid who dropped it off was a super nice cowboy from Montana. Just had a kid, and we had a conversation about God and the whole thing. So, anyway, excuse the jet fighters flying over. The jet fighters fly over every now and then. China Lakes Naval Air Station is kind of far away in a car, but if you're in a jet fighter, it's right around the corner. Anyway, dude. So we read how it works from the chapter 5 of the big books of Alcoholics Anonymous. This is not an AA meeting. We're not affiliated with AA in any way, but I have found that the solution, as it's laid out in chapter 5, can be used for anything that's getting between you and God. Because after all, this is about getting closer to God and removing the things that are between you and God. And many of us have put many things between us and God: guilt, shame, lying, obesity, drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever it is, to take care of the pain that is this human life without God, right? And once you find God, it's not quite so painful. So this is a way to have a more bountiful relationship with the God of your understanding, a God of your understanding, right? Because again, for this hour, I don't speak of my God, right? Because I'm a Christian and Jesus Christ is my personal savior. But for those who may be looking for a path to stop suffering, it needs to just be as much as you can grasp, right? It doesn't have to be any more than just a crack, sunlight of the spirit, just a little crack in your soul to let God in. And for me to put a label on it or say it needs to be any sort of way is would be to maybe close that crack. So anyway, with that said, chapter 5, how it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to the simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. There are those, too, who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we're like now. If you've decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. At some of these, we balked. We thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us, but there is one who has all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. We admitted we were powerless over alcohol. 1, we admitted that we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and practice these principles in all of our affairs. Many of us exclaimed, "What an order! I cannot go through with it." Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that we're willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter of the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas: that we're alcoholic and could not manage our own lives; B, that probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism; and C, that God could and would if he were sought. Oh, there it is. There's a basic outline of a path forward if you want to give it a try, dude. So what's going on out there, man? Resto, man. Happy Wednesdays, dude. Longest I've ever been with alcohol, weed, Nick, and caffeine in a while. Gonna keep it up. Patrick M on the hustle there. Let's see where was that? I missed the Patrick M keeping it together. Good for you, dude. Serenity Prayer says it all. Yeah, man. Why is there so much a God factor when it comes to sobriety? Why is there such a God factor when it comes to sobriety? All right, that's a great question, actually, dude. William CA3. Because there has to be something bigger than you, right? So drugs and alcohol or whatever it is that's gotten between you and this thing, call it reality, for lack of a better word. It's taking your life over. It's controlling you. You're controlling you because, right? Why do you need something else to take care of yourself? Because you're suffering, right? And food, drugs, alcohol, sex, buying stuff, gambling, whatever it is, provides medicine for the painful experience that's down here. What is the painful experience? This reality: breathing, dealing with people, making trouble, wrecking cars, all the things, the learning math, whatever it may be, can be very difficult, right? So you take the drugs and the alcohol, right? And these things cause reactions within our bodies. They for many of us, we have an allergic reaction, which causes us to crave and drink more. But also, these things help us take away the pain, take us out of this reality, put us somewhere else that feels safe to us, right? So once the human body has been taken over and the spirit and the soul has been taken over by this comfort, right? And then at a certain point, that comfort no longer works, right? You've spent years eating pizzas or smoking crack or sleeping with weirdos, right? And it no longer works anymore. You feel empty, right? You feel empty. Well, what is that emptiness? That is where the deep exploration begins. And in order to replace something that solved the problem for this reality, right, taking away the pain of this experience, you need something bigger than yourselves. What would be the biggest thing you could possibly replace that with? That would be the concept of God, right? And again, why we speak of it loosely in this setting of your understanding is because it doesn't need to be defined. When most people think of God, it comes with a lot of dogma. It comes with a lot of story and issue behind it. What if God is simply just something bigger than you? Something bigger than you for a bit. What if it's just trying to control the sun rising? What if it's a group of drunks? What if it's this community for getting you out of your head? What if it's something besides this thing? Going, I can't deal. What if that's all it needs to be? So call it God. Call it God, for lack of a better word, because there's no word to describe this. reality is a crappy word to use for it, right? It has to be something bigger than the problem, right? You can't fill the hole inside of you with a grain of sand. You need something bigger, right? And so that's where you get into this concept. Good for you, Mr. Logan. Congratulations, 130 days of what God is. And again, I think when I read that is it's that same thing, that God has to be everybody else's definition of what it is. Are there resources for alcoholics that don't rely so heavily on faith? I don't know why. I don't get why that it's not faith. That has nothing to do with faith. That's what I'm trying to say is it's faith. It's got nothing to do with faith. It has to do with realizing that you need something else. And again, is it says very clearly in the instructions, there is a chapter to the agnostics, dude. This isn't about joining a spiritual pursuit that everybody else must fit in. It's your own journey. If you don't want God in the thing, like, have at it, dude. Good for you. There's no rules on it. You don't have to have any sort of belief in God. It makes it much easier. I'll tell you that. Like, again, is that thing. There's nothing that says that you need to have God in it. It's just that's what we've all found that is ultimately the truth at the end of the day, right? And when we come to these things, that's why it's a God of your understanding. Maybe that God is nothingness, dude. Maybe your God needs to be nothing. Okay, great. It's understanding what the concept of God is. Something bigger than all this. That's all it is. That's all it is for right now. That's all it is in the beginning. It doesn't have anything to do with faith. It doesn't have anything to do with anything. It just has to do with getting out of this thing, right? No, William CA3, not disrespectful at all. It's a very important concept about getting sober, because most people who want to get sober will look for a reason not to get sober. The drugs and alcohol that inhabit you and have taken you over are looking for any way not for you not to get sober up. So throw in the definition of God, right? Yeah, I need to define God. I have a fully abundant relationship with God. I couldn't define it for you. I can only show it to you, dude. I can only show you what God has done for me in sobriety, right? If you go back to my, 13 years ago in videos, I started YouTube 10 months sober or 11 months sober in a teeny trailer with a single electrical cord, right? So that's what I mean is God, if you don't want growth, you don't have to have growth. You can just get sober. You can just stop using drugs and alcohol, but that ultimately is a dangerous, dangerous game, because if you're not growing, you're dying, dude, right? Like that's the whole kind of concept, man. So again, is this concept of God can be super nebulous, dude. It does not need to be defined. It really doesn't need to be. I don't see how you do it without a higher power. Again, it's a higher power, right? It can literally, like, it's literally you understanding that there's things that you can't control, right? We're powerless over alcohol in our lives. We're unmanageable. Stop that trying to define God is attempting to manage something again. Just that. See, that's what the surrender in step one's all about, right? We're powerless over alcohol. Our lives are unmanageable. That first step is about surrendering all your rational comprehension of what you think's going on, because it's failed you up to this point. If you're looking to get sober, it's because all your rationalizing and all your attempts and structures and matrices and things you've done have totally failed you, and you're out of answers, right? So the thing that people do is they want to define this concept of God in the beginning because they're trying to manage something. They're trying to control something. Why? Why do you need to define what God is? Why do you need to even like have it be anything more than just like why it's essentially putting the cart before the horse, because step one, right? Step one, we've been where powers over alcohol in our lives have become unmanageable, right? That's all you're doing in the beginning. You're not thinking about God in the beginning. You're just like realizing that you can't manage your own life and that you're powerless to this thing that's taking you over. There's no mention of God in the beginning. Step one's got nothing to do with God. Zero. It's got to do with you realizing you don't have any control of your predicament. Just because you showed up at work, you might, and you can't control if you're happy. If you can control you're happy, good for you, dude. Maybe you're not an addict. Maybe you already are hardwired into the eternal, right? So then step two, right? Came to believe a power greater than ourselves could restore sanity. Again, no mention of God. Not talking about God. Just a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity, right? Anything besides ourselves, right? Could be a group of other people, right? That's why you can't do this alone. It's got to be something besides you to restore you to sanity, man. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him, right? That's a we understood him thing. Well, what's the we? You're not in a church. It's the we. The we is you and the people you're working with, right? So you're working with the sponsor, and maybe you had a little fellowship, a little AA group. The God can be whatever you're working with. And if you have a good sponsor, they're not inflicting their vision of God on you. They're helping you define it for yourself, right? That's why that we is so God as we understood him. You have someone who's deep in the program, right? Who's sober, got a bunch of time under the belt. Maybe it's 5 minutes more than you or 15 years more than you. Doesn't matter. And they're sitting there and they're getting you through the steps, and they're at step 3, as we understood him. That we isn't 8 billion people. It's not 100 people. It may be your little fellowship, your little AA meeting, but more than likely than not, it's just you and another person is the we. And that other person, if they're truly doing their job as God's representative, is not going, here, you need to believe this. They're asking you, what can you handle? What do you need it to be? What do you need? Made a decision to turn our will as a care of lives as God as we understood him. Okay, well, what is it that we need to work on here right now? What can you handle as God for you? For some people, it's simply just I'm going to just stick with the word for a bit. How about I just deal with the word? Okay. How about I'm not ready completely for God, but I'm willing to turn my will and my life over to this process. So we'll call God this. Your person who's working with you's helping you define what it is that is palatable enough for you to get to the next step to turn it over to this God that you have worked out with this other person. There's no like handbook that says, well, in order for you to turn your will and your life over to God as we understood him, it looks like this. The we, which is you and another person, which is hopefully your sponsor, is figuring all that out in the conversation and the readings and the thing and talking about what it was that helped you come to believe that a power greater than yourself could restore you to sanity, what you were powerless, why you were powerless, and all this stuff. So it's this thing that again, for someone who's looking to get sober, you don't need to be all dramaed out about what God is, dude. Again, this isn't about that. That's about you defining it as you grow into it, right? And many people will find a deeper and more fulfilling relationship with their God as they progress and get sober and sober. Because in the beginning, dude, whoever Red Scott is, dude, you're spamming this thing with that, dude, and you're not like, that ain't cool, man. That ain't cool, man. See, again, that's the thing with people that are here. This isn't some, we're not doing a Bible study here. We're doing a sober study here. We're figuring out how to get out of what, for all intents and purposes, has become your higher power: drugs, alcohol. They've become your God for all intents and purposes. So you can't just give up your medicine and not replace it with something else. That's crazy town, right? That's the whole thing. So when you get to this thing and people start telling you that it needs to be my way, I would say walk away from them, dude. If you got some lunatic there that's being like, you need to do this and you need to do that, they're not helping you at all. At all. Because again, that's not how it works. Somebody who's coming here, look, I can explain it from my perspective. So I came to sobriety with a love for God in my life, with a searching and a longing for God in my life. I just like that Who song, The Seeker, right? I was looking under tables, I was talking to people, I was reading books, I was checking it all out, dude. And I just couldn't get there. I just couldn't get there, man. And I didn't know what the barrier was. And then I finally hit the wall with the drugs and the alcohol. They stopped working. I was miserable. I needed a way out. I meet Dave and Joe. We get me off the drugs and the alcohol. We sober up. I start going to the meeting and start working the process. At a certain point, I begin to experience God in my life, right? And I go, okay, fantastic. And in the beginning, I was with Joe and David. We were reading a lot of Course in Miracles. Like that's what they were all into, the Course in Miracles. I was reading a lot of Course in Miracles, reading a lot of Eckhart Tolle, the whole thing, and I'm doing that whole deal, man. You know, I thought that I the Course in Miracles in the beginning really worked for me, man. And as I progressed in my sobriety, my understanding and my interaction with God in my life began to expand, began to change, began to get deeper and deeper. And at a certain point, that's where I was born again and fully understood what Jesus had done, what God had done with Jesus for me, right? And that put me where it is. But again, where I see a lot of the lunacy of Christianity jamming people up is trying to make something that I don't read in the Bible, man. I don't see that. And so to have these spiritually philosophical debates in sobriety for someone who just wants to stop using drugs and alcohol is potentially lethal to them, is what I'm getting at, dude. Is what I'm getting at is someone who just wants to put down the bottle of booze or the crack pipe or the 50,000 pizzas or whatever it is. If I start bombarding them with Jesus and the resurrection, they might actually just close their heart to God, right? Because all I'm working with in the beginning, all you can hope for in the beginning is a crack in the soul where the sunlight of the Spirit can get in there and begin to nourish God and allow the sunlight in to replace the darkness. If you come at people in the beginning with this giant, gnarly God thing, you potentially could kill them. And I don't even, that's not even hyperbole, man. If you like, again, Eckhart Tolle, right? In the beginning of my sobriety, that's all I could handle was listening to The Power of Now on audiobooks as I went to sleep. That's all I could handle. Dude, the Bible? Nah. Couldn't have handled it, dude. Couldn't have handled going to church. Couldn't have handled talking about it. All I could do was listen to Eckhart Tolle. Here, you're getting deleted, dude. Red Scout, you're out. You're not helping here at all. You're obviously not listening, dude. So you can go somewhere else. Because when we're dealing with, again, it's that we have to be like that about this. This is for people. I guess it's the interesting thing is to truly know what it is to suffer, right? Like if I go back to the thing, right, and go, okay, why are we here? Why are we doing this hour here? It's because there's people out there right now who are contemplating killing themselves, right? I started this because my friend, sheriff training, killed himself, right? Didn't have a solution. Right? So if you're on the brink right now, you have other people that are maybe one drink away from walking out of the house and getting in a car and killing a family or something, or very, very much on the precipice of not finding salvation, right? So we're here for those who are suffering, have no solution, right? That level of suffering, at that point is dire. And so that's why I'm at it is getting someone to when you start hitting. I do drink every day if I have booze in my home every night. I'm hesitant to say I'm an alcoholic. I don't feel an absolute need for it, but like a place that makes me think about this stuff. Just read William CA3. Just read that statement back to yourself in the mirror and look at yourself and be like, that is like by almost its own definition, like the workaround that is alcoholism, dude. And so what I'm getting at is if I think about where I was at the precipice, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, coming down off that mountain, dude, right? Where I'd called out to God, help me, right? Help me, God. And 3 days later, Joe and David showed up in front of the liquor store, right? Those dudes didn't bombard me with God. They didn't sit there and bombard me with it's this way or read that or do this or do that. They were just like, how's it going, dude? How's it going with you, man? And let me explain it to them that I got nothing left, man. And see, and that is where God lies. And again, is why I think it's super important on this thing in the beginning for God to be almost anonymous in early sobriety is and you need to find him is because you can't turn away someone who might have a different spiritual path, right? How would you feel like, all right, like like whoever that dude was who was like bombarding with the Timothy one and the whole thing. What if the person you're trying to help get sober is of the Muslim faith, right? Has come to hear it as a Muslim, dude, and you're bombarding them with Christianity. What if the person who's getting sober is a Buddhist, and you're bombarding them with Christianity? What if they're any one of anything? So again, that's why we have to be careful in these things in the beginning. Is if I tell you what God is, according to me, I'm wrong because I couldn't tell you that. I can tell you what I've found along the way. But if you're trying to get sober, that's again not the conversation for here, man. That's not the conversation. Yeah, porn's brutal, dude. That's not the conversation for here, man. This is about getting you to get out of the problem into the solution. If I can illustrate that, this isn't about what proselytizing. That's a different channel. That's a different stream. I'll sit up here and go on about it, dude. But that's not what sobriety needs. If you're sitting there and if you're addicted to porn, whoever that is, and I start going on about all that, I'm not helping you at all. What I'm trying to get you to do is just pause long enough so that the sunlight of the spirit can get in through all the nonsense, dude. That's all you're hoping to do, right? That's all you can really pray for another person, is that they get off of the substance or the addiction long enough that the sunlight of the spirit can get in there, man. It's a tough game, man. It's a race, dude. And it's not easy. All right, so you're obviously like, here, dude. We're just you're done. Red Scout, you don't need to be here, okay? Like you're clipped. Well, addiction's coming all shapes and forms. So anyway, there's I don't know. There's I hope that helps you, William, CA. And what are we on to, dude? Smart recovery is a non-gosh. You try it unsuccessfully. Please be open to the 12-step approach. My life transformed by the 12-step. Yeah, I don't know how you do it without something greater than I tell you what is like, again, on sobriety and God, like, I don't know what the point of getting sober really is if that's not. Look, I'll tell you, I can only explain it if it wasn't about that, I wouldn't be sober right now. If sobriety was about not drinking and drugging, I'm loaded still, dude. I'm going right back to it, because this, without something bigger and deeper and more meaningful, what's the point? Right? What's the point? It's not called, again, is the weird thing about the people that are like on the non-God concept. It's called, alcohol is called spirits for a reason. I mean, we do get that what alcohol does is open you to a channel to a higher power anyhow. That's why you get all wrapped up into it, and it lets your inhibitions down and the whole thing. And and we that's why it works for so and then it stops working because it was never that much of a path forward anyhow. We don't do the therapeutic use of psychedelics here, dude. We believe in fellowship and or I personally believe that fellowship's the answer. The ultimate psychedelic is a community of people, dude. Like I don't know, man. It's just a cheesy end run about the whole thing of doing the work, dude. I mean, again, is if you don't want to do the work, dude, you don't have to do the work, dude. You can just cheese out on it, dude. Just replacement theory, dude. Just go take your psychedelics and just not do the work. I again is why would you need to add anything? It's all about getting the poison out of your system, dude. You know what I mean? Like again is it and the poison it's about realizing that life's a team sport, man, and you need a group of people in your life that speak the language. Like, you know what I mean? It's about look, life's gnarly, dude. There's nothing easy about it, man. It was like yesterday. And again, I'm not knocking like Kaiser, like good 3 years no alcohol. It's a big deal. I'm just saying that like underneath the thing is it's really I mean, it's all about this. It's having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. We tried to carry this message to alcoholics and practice principles in all of our affairs. It's about a set of principles and it's about helping other people, dude. What's the point of doing any of this if we're not trying to help other people, man? What's the point of it? What's the point of any of this if we're not trying to like be of service to other people, right? So that's where I get a little bit about some of these other things is again, is it seems a little bit fear-based in that sense of like, yeah, what if life's way deeper than what if it's much deeper than we even can wrap our head around? But the only thing we know for sure is that we're all here, man. We're all down here, dude, doing this thing. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's a tricky path, but like I said, it seems to be contained in other people. I can tell you it's contained in other people. I mean, I saw my buddy David is on the stream. Like, I don't get sober without that dude. I don't have my son in there without David and Joe, right? Without these two other random human beings that from my perspective, God sent as his messengers to come and save me, essentially. Right. I don't, without those two human beings, I don't discover any of this. You have to understand, like, I spent years trying to figure it out on my own, like alone, trying to figure it out, like taking all the drugs, taking the psychedelics, climbing up the mountains, sitting in isolation, like literally like the Seeker in the Who song. So what I'm getting at is none of it happens without two other human beings entering my life, right? Those two other human beings who were sober members of Alcoholics Anonymous came in, they didn't offer me anything except help. I mean, I don't think people really get like that's the thing. They didn't come in and offer me a better life. They didn't come and offer me a solution. They just said, "We're willing to help you if you're willing to help yourself." That's it. Cold turkey is not the only way, dude. In fact, that's why most people end up dead, dude. Cold turkey's a fail. It's not how it works. If you wanna get sober, if you wanna stop drinking or using, yeah, maybe you can cold turkey it out for a while, dude. Again, I just can't illustrate it enough. Cold turkey implies that this has something to do with drugs. Now, it's got nothing to zero to do with the substance, the porn, the pizzas, the crack, the alcohol. It's got zero to do with that. I guess that's why I'm going on this tangent about starting with William about like it's got to be something bigger yourself, because if it had anything to do with that, like that's almost the folly of the ease. Like, yeah, just go cold turkey, dude. Just sit around and just not do stuff. Yeah, I can do that. Well, what's the point of that? Like, I want to like dig into life. I didn't get sober. Look, that again, going back to the two dudes, right? David and Joe. Again, they didn't offer me anything. They just said they're willing to help me. If I'm willing to help myself, man. And I followed their lead, dude. And they just were like, okay, dude. And life changed. And life kept changing. And life kept getting better and better. But the point was, at any moment, I can go get loaded if I want, because it's got nothing to do with getting loaded. I would never get loaded today because it can't possibly do anything to fix the problem. Do you get what I'm saying? Is the problem was never the drugs and the alcohol. They were the solution. So the cold turkey thing's baffling because that's not the problem. The problem isn't the drugs and the alcohol. The drugs and the alcohol were the answer to the problem, but they stopped working. Literally, dude, if I could go smoke crack and have all this happen and yeah, I would. Have no doubt about it, dude. If I thought that ripping 50 bong hits a day could get me here, I would. If I thought dumping DMT into the side of my head could get me here, I would. But when you realize that it's not about what you add to your physicality, it's about what you add to your soul and your spirit and your heart and who you become, that when you get there, you don't want to hoard it, so to speak. You want to give it away, because what was given to me so freely by David and Joe, why would I want to hold that back? You get what I'm saying? That's the joke I always say. The ultimate bong hit is sobriety. The ultimate hit of acid is sobriety. The ultimate drunk is sobriety, dude. This is about the fact that the drugs and the alcohol aren't the issue. They were the solution, but they stopped working because at a certain point, your body just rejects them as baseline, dude. So when we get to this thing, you realize, again, that's what I mean. And thank you, Hedgie, for that, because it got to this. It's an important thing about this thing. Because when you start doing the work, you realize that the reason that you needed the solution that was drugs and alcohol is because that you had been doing nothing with most of your life except torturing yourself, sleeping with idiots, getting crappy jobs, underachieving, being a dick, arguing with people, ramming cars into things, whatever it was, dude, jerking off to porn, whatever it was. When you do the work, the fourth and the fifth step in there, you realize that you had been doing all these things and you're using the drugs and alcohol not to deal with the horror of that. Because intuitively, as a human being who is here, you're a spiritual being having a human experience, you know that you've been blowing it, dude. That you have been doing stupid stuff and being an idiot for most of your life up until that point. And you're like, I need a fifth of booze and a crack pipe and a bag of mushrooms to get through this thing with some pizza. So some Totino's pizzas to get through this thing, right? And then you get there and they stop working and all you got is all the garbage you've been burying in your own backyard, dude. And you're like, oh my God, I got a giant pile of garbage and this stuff won't block it anymore. So now what? Now I'm just loaded. I'm hammered. I'm drunk. I'm cracked out. And now I'm just staring at my garbage that won't go away anymore because it stopped working. So what are you going to do now? Just go cold turkey and now you got a bag of garbage? No. You don't want to go cold turkey and have a bag of garbage. The whole point of what sobriety is getting to the bag of garbage, looking at it and realizing you don't want it anymore. And step 5 is realizing that you can take your bag of garbage that you've been carrying around your entire life and give it back to God. And God's like, can I have this? Can I take this burden away from you? And you give it back to God, dude. And then God opens all the doors. And before we're halfway through it, that we begin to experience a new reality, right? And then that's where you're like, you get to be of service, dude. You get to be in service in all the things you do. Use the name tags, do all these things. Because the bag of garbage, we are constantly always having the bag of garbage fill up, dude. Right? That's why we do these tenths, continue to take personal inventory when we were wrong, wrongfully admit 10th step, right? I fill up my bag of garbage on a daily basis, dude. How did I do today? I think I did pretty good. I didn't put much garbage in there. Yesterday, I filled it full of garbage, dude. Bunch of garbage yesterday. Today's a much better day, dude. So that's what I'm getting at is that's why going back to William CA3, that's why this letting an understanding of a possibility, potential of God being the greater thing than all of you is so important, is because you need something to give the garbage back to, dude. You can't just, that's why it's super clear and admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrong, dude. You're sitting with that person that helped you be the we of the God of your understanding so you can give the garbage back, dude. Unburden me with the garbage, dude. And so, again, just to like be clear, if drugs and alcohol could do that for me, if going down and eating the plant medicine could handle that for me, I suppose I wouldn't be sitting here doing this. I would be running around naked in the jungle, pouring brown water down my throat, puking all over my face, dude. But that's not the answer. The answer is understanding that you can cope with the garbage that you put into your garbage bag and not be afraid of it anymore. Because the garbage you're putting into a garbage bag isn't like a bunch of badness. It's just like garbage you can deal with, dude. You're no longer pooping in the bag. It's not full of excrement. It's full of like, some plastic wrap, dude. And all of that stuff. So that's what I'm sort of getting at as we come to the end of this thing. Sometimes you can't always see the garbage bag, though. Yeah, you can. That's what doing the work's about. Again, the work is about seeing the garbage. That's what this is all about. That's what 6 and 7 are about. We're step 6, after you've given it all back to God, right? You've given your garbage back to God. How do you find the garbage? How do you know what the garbage is that you're putting in your bag, right? 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. So you've become aware of your defects of character. You're asking God to remove these defects of character, which means that you're aware of your garbage that you create. 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings, right? 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed, became willing to make amends to them all. The whole point of being sober is to be aware of your garbage that you're generating on a daily basis. Like it's sort of like life, right? Like you can just throw your garbage out the window and pretend it doesn't exist. You can just stuff it into the garbage thing under the sink and just, yeah, whatever, and just put it there and it goes to the landfill and never think about it twice. Or you can actually like deal with your garbage in a real level and compost stuff and be like, oh, that garbage is actually like can be healthy for my compost. Oh, this garbage is recyclable. Oh, I can actually reuse that for something else around the house. This stuff, maybe I need to stop bringing less plastics into my environment because of these things. So again, is it's not about pretending that you don't do garbage. It's understanding that by the very nature of this human reality that you're having the spiritual experience in, you're going to create garbage and being aware of it so that you can promptly deal with it before it builds up into an unmanageable, overflowing dumpster fire full of garbage, if that makes any sense. So I like this one at the end, right at the buzzer here. Ben Neb, why do I need to believe in God instead of God making believe in him? Dude, if you don't see God broadcasting a signal all around you, dude, you ain't paying attention, man. You ain't paying attention. Again, as I always like to refer to the Insane Clown Posse, said one of the best things ever. If you don't believe in God, explain a giraffe, dude. God is just vibrating everywhere, dude, proving it to you, going, believe in me, dude, all around. Bumblebees, aloe vera over there, dude. Like, it's just like the fact that the food you eat comes from a seed, you just a little teeny seed, dude. Like, it's everywhere. That's what I mean, dude. God's sitting all the time. He's not gonna make you believe. If you have the folly, that's almost another video for a different description, but it's everywhere. But again, the drugs and alcohol will block that from you because you're using them to mask the reasons that you've turned your back on God to begin with, dude, right? Anyway, so can someone throw up Jane? Can you throw up the oh, dude, Ben, you fire me up. I'm all about getting fired up. I need the suicide prevention. There you go, Jane. Thank you. For anyone contemplating suicide right now, look, please call the 1-800-273-8255. Job bless, Ben. 1-800-273-8255. And don't be afraid to call, dude. Your life's important. Every life's important right now. We all need to stay together. Whatever problem you're facing right now, it's temporary. So please call 1-800-273-8255 if you're contemplating suicide. Kimmy, dude, with the Canadian suicide prevention line. Thank you, dude. Thank you, Kimmy. If you're in Canada, the suicide prevention hotline number is 1-833-456-4566. 1-833-456-4566. Orangutan, one more time, National Suicide Prevention time is 1-800-273-8255. And with that said, look, there is a solution. If you're in the United States of America, you can pretty much type in wherever you are. Thank you, David. Love you, brother. Couldn't have gotten here without you. And there isn't. Just type in your city, AA, central office, AA, your town, and you'll get a list of meetings and phone numbers, and call one of those things and get with a group of people that can help you through Christina from Ohio. And with that said, I'm going to do a serenity prayer on the way out there. Or God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Amen. William CA3, Great questions. Hedgie, thank you too. Everybody else, thank you for being here and allowing me to be of service and share this valuable time with you. Good night.